If the only way to stop a monster is to become one yourself, would you still call it justice? Long before history was written, before kings wore crowns, there was a father who feared his own children, and to stop the future from destroying him, he did something no god should ever do. Cronus was not always afraid. He was once the one others feared, a titan who had already overthrown his own father to take the throne. But power has a strange way of changing what you fear, because one day a prophecy reached him, a simple sentence, but one that would destroy everything. He would be overthrown by his own child. He did not yet know what fear was about to turn him into. And so he made a choice, not to trust, not to fight, but to erase the future before it could begin. Every time a child was born, he swallowed them, one by one, not out of hatred, but out of fear. And that's when a silent question was born. Were monsters always monsters, or did fear make them that way? But not every story ends the way fear plans it, because when the next child was born, something went wrong. Rhea, his mother, refused to lose another child. So she made a choice of her own. She hid the baby and gave Cronus a stone wrapped like a child. And for the first time, fear was deceived. But that child was not meant to merely survive. He was destined to return. Hidden far from the eyes of a god, the child grew, not knowing his brothers and sisters, but knowing something was wrong. Because some truths don't need to be told. They live inside you. And as he grew, so did one question. What do you do when the monster is your own father? When he finally returned, he didn't come as a son. He came with a plan, not to beg, not to forgive, but to undo everything that fear had built. So he entered his father's world, not as an enemy, but as someone no one would question. But defeating a god would require more than strength. He knew one thing: you don't destroy a king by attacking him. You destroy what gives him power. So he made Cronus drink a potion, and for the first time in years, the past came back. One by one, the swallowed children returned, alive, angry, and ready. But bringing them back was only the beginning, because what followed was not revenge, it was war. A war that would shake the sky itself, titans against gods, power against power, and in the middle of it, a son standing against his father. And wars like this don't end without a cost. The battle lasted longer than anyone expected, because this wasn't just a fight for power, it was a fight against fear itself. And in the end, Zeus did what his father once did. He overthrew him, he took the throne, and he became the new ruler of the gods. But this is where most stories lie to you, because they tell you this is the moment of victory, that the monster is gone, that justice has been served. But they never ask the real question: what happens after you become powerful enough to replace what you destroyed? Because the story didn't end with Cronus. And this is where the myth ends. No more battles, no more gods falling from the sky, just silence after the storm. But this is also the exact moment where something else begins. Because stories like this were never meant to stay in the past. They survive because they repeat, not in the sky, but in us. Because not all monsters look like Cronus. Sometimes the monster is not a god. Sometimes it's a system, a belief, a way of thinking that was never questioned. And sometimes it's closer than that. A parent, a memory, A fear that has lived inside you for so long, you stopped noticing it. And one day, you realize something. If nothing changes, it will continue through you. And that's when the real question begins. What do you do when you finally see it? When you realize the thing you want to destroy is part of what made you who you are? Do you walk away? Do you fight? Or do you risk becoming something else in the process? Because Zeus didn't just defeat a monster, he stepped into its place. And that is where the line disappears. Some people will say Zeus was a hero. Others will say he was just the next version of the same fear. So tell me, when you break a cycle like this, are you ending it or continuing it in a different form? Maybe the problem was never the monster. Maybe it was always the fear of becoming one. Because in the end, the difference between a hero and a monster is not what they fight. It's what they become while fighting it.